to do with his story. Let's see. You wonder why you're hated.
Way captive into all nations. They but one people went captive into all nations. That's the meme I was just reading from earlier. Scattered worldwide by way of the transatlantic slave trade, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. Dealing with those folks that are over there now, the Israelis and the other nations are over there stomping all over our land.
A new song.
Deep in the shadows of the dark forest, hidden among the cragged rock along the veins of an old mountain, called by the name of Mount Seir, haunted by wraiths not quite human and not quite beast, but perhaps something that lies in between. Not descended from the sons of Adam nor the sons of Noah, and rumored to be born of a forbidden union between fallen angels and the souls of men, who produced the Rephaim, the Zuzim, the Emans, and last but not least, the Horites, whose seed was mingled with men, spread wide upon the peaks of Mount Seir, and deep in the bowels of a hollow cave. You see, the Horites were the bride of Esau, who was born with a red coat upon his naked skin, which forced him to seek out shelter upon the deep, long shadows of Mount Seir, where he would disappear into the darkness of the forest, far away from the reach of man, where he would dwell, bear young, hunt, and find his true love. Esau's union with the people of the mountain would have far-reaching ramifications for mankind that would last until this very day. An exchange of blood, an oath, would mark the descendants of this union for ages to come. You see, according to the scriptures, Esau was the only people to mix with the Horites during the times of old, therefore creating a hybrid Horite Edomite offspring who would carry the traits of both Horites and the traits of Esau, all rolled up into one new unique breed of people. And now let's take a look at the definition of the word Chorrhite, according to the Strong's Concordance, which means cave dweller, as the following reference reads. And reads, Strong's number H2752, that's Strong's H2752, means Horims or Horites. It means cave dweller or troglodytes. You see, we can find these cave dwellers living among the descendants of Esau in Genesis chapter 36, verse 8, which reads, Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Ada, the wife of Esau; Reuel, the son of Beshemath, the wife of Esau. These are the sons of Seir the Horite, who inhabited the land: Lotan, and Shobal, and Zibeon, and Anna, and Dishan, and Ezer, and Dishan. These are the dukes of the Horites, the children of Seir, in the land of Edom. These are the dukes that came of the Horites: Duke Lotan, Duke Shobal, Duke Zibeon, and Duke Anna, Duke Dishan, Duke Ezer, Duke Dishan. These are the dukes that came of Hori, among their dukes in the land of Seir. You see, fam, the Horites were divided into two groups: the East Horites and the West Horites. It was the East Horites who initially interacted with Esau, while the West Horites did not mix with Esau until later, as described in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. Horite, or perhaps cave dweller, or nobleman or son. Also Horim. Phonetically, this name is the Old Testament Hebrew equivalent of extra-biblical Hurrian. In other words, fam, it's also known as Hurrian, as the name Hurrian, which are an actual people. But we'll come back to that later. So let's drop down to the next paragraph, to the next highlighted section, which reads, these people whom we may refer to as East Horites, and who were driven out and destroyed by the Edomites, were apparently not Hurrians. On the other hand, it is thought by some that the name Horite originally stood in two places, where the Hebrew text has Hivite. Skipping ahead. So these passages would refer to a group that we may call West Horites, because they are said to reside in the region to the west of the Jordan. They are to be kept distinct from the East Horites, the predecessors of the Edomites. The West Horites, it is claimed by some, are non-Semitic, related to the peoples called Hurrians in extra-biblical texts of the 2nd millennia BC. We can also find this description of the Horites in the Bible Gateway as well, as it reads, Horites. These East Horites, the predecessors of the Edomites, were apparently not Hurrians. Where the next section reads, these Horites were called West Horites because the passages cited indicate for them a residence in the region to the west of the Jordan. And the next reference reads, the upshoot is that the Horites and Edom had become one people. In addition, the role of Edom in the exile of the 10 tribes, the continued involvement of Edom in their history, needs to be kept in mind. Skipping ahead. Because of the intermarriages and cultural borrowings between the Edomite families and Horites, it became the norm for their collective association. Red-headed Esau himself was hirsute, a coincidental similarity. It's important to note that both the Horite and Esau lived in the same places. Therefore, if you find the Horites, you'll more than likely find Esau. As the following reference reads, it reads, the Horites in their divisions are listed as part of Edom. In Egyptian inscriptions, the Horite land is referred to as Kar, formerly transliterated as Hari. It says, the Horites were also found in what is now northern Syria, Turkey, and Mesopotamia. Archaeological finds indicate that they spoke a language called Hurrian, similar to that later known as Urartu. According to I.M. Dekonoff and S. Satorsten, the Hurrian and Urartan languages are related to the Northeast Caucasian tongues. That's important, fam. We'll come back to that later.
Rescue workers pick through the rubble with their bare hands, and excavators have been called in to shift the debris. Homes have been swept away, and many bridges and roads are now destroyed. Emergency teams are still struggling to reach the survivors of a landslide that hit a region 140 kilometers northwest of Georgia's capital, Tbilisi.
At the location where cottages were located, there is basically nothing at the moment. There are only fragments left, and rescuers can't approach them because it's a very thick layer of landmass and the rescuers are drowning. That's why we are involving vehicles to make roads.
The landslide hit the mountain resort town of Shovi in the northwest of the Caucasian country. The town is popular for its mineral springs and stunning views. Prime Minister Irakli Garabashvili has declared Monday a national day of mourning. He said the army has been deployed to help with the search efforts.
Straight after the disaster, we dispatched 400 rescuers. They managed to safely move 210 of our citizens from the landslide-hit areas. Furthermore, the police and emergency management service took care of everyone remaining in the disaster zone.
It is estimated that the villages affected in the region are buried under 5 million cubic meters of mud. Officials say the landslide was triggered by recent heavy rainfall. Family and friends wait and hope for good news as rescue teams work around the clock to find those still missing under the rubble. JASHER, TRT World.
Let's keep reading. It says, the Horites in Hebrew are referred to as Horim, or in archaeological terms as Hurrians. The Bible recalls the Horites as dwelling around Mount Seir, which was to the south of Canaan. All right, fam. So in the Bible, Mount Seir is synonymous with Esau. In other words, if you find Mount Seir, more than likely you'll find Esau's hairy descendants called Edomites. Now we note that the name Seir literally means hairy and shaggy. Which is befitting of the descendants of Esau, because remember, in the scripture, Esau was described as being hairy and red. Genesis chapter 25, verse 25, which reads, and the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over. So they called his name Esau. Now consider this. Esau was so hairy that his brother Jacob once put hairy goat skin on his neck and his arms to impersonate Esau. Think about it, fam. The hair of a goat. Now that's one red, hairy dude living on a mountain called Hairy and Shaggy, with a people called cave dwellers on Mount Seir.
These are great, but they don't convey my deep, abiding disappointment in my children. Don't worry, we got you covered.
When our children play, we are their biggest fans. When they fail, we are the first to be there for them. Order your DNA test on soccergenomics.com. And with a saliva sample, a genetic analysis will be performed to generate a personalized report that will help improve player development. Discover your genetic blueprint. Let Soccer Genomics guide you.
Dad, Billy, why don't you sit down? I got your test back. And, Billy, I'm sorry, but you're not Brazilian. Nothing to be done. Dad, you want to start drinking your wine now? But here's the thing. Apparently, turning your entire genetic code over to faceless corporations might have a downside. There are all sorts of privacy concerns. For example, 23andMe has sold access to its database to at least 13 outside pharmaceutical firms, and the GOP has proposed legislation aimed at making it easier for companies to gather genetic data from workers. So get ready for Casual Fridays and Eugenics Wednesdays. Because of privacy concerns, a few weeks ago, the Baltimore Ravens canceled their scheduled DNA Day, which would have given away free DNA tests to fans before Sunday's game. Classic, normal stadium giveaway. Just like the Troy Aikman bobblehead that tells you if you have type 2 diabetes. The giveaway was postponed because apparently the DNA test privacy policy stated that the company could keep any information obtained for as long as they wanted, and they could share it in any way. Well, I just came to the stadium to get drunk and watch football, but sure, clone me for an Argon farm, I don't care. Woo! Go Ravens! But there is Argon farm. Argon farm. Why not? But there's one group that loves DNA testing, and that's racists. Apparently, white nationalists are flocking to genetic tests, but some don't like what they find because often the tests reveal African ancestry.
That's a bad thing.
That has got to be tough. You got to be tough, man. I mean, you feel for these guys. You almost feel bad for them. Then you remember that they're horrible people, and you just laugh and laugh and laugh. Here they are laughing right now. But I get it. I get it, guys. You pay all this money for a genetic test, and then it upends your whole worldview. But that's not what you wanted at all. Luckily, there's a new company that can help.
How many times has this happened to you? You know you're genetically superior, but one of those genetic testing services tells you you've got traces of non-white ancestry. That's why there's Supreme Genetics, the only DNA testing service that tells white supremacists exactly what they want to hear. Want us to say you're a pure-blooded descendant of Thomas Jefferson, or Napoleon, or Wario the Evil Mario? Sure, fine, whatever you want.
I want to know I'm descended exclusively from white men, no women.
Then Supreme Genetics is the DNA testing service for you. Just swab your cheek with a Q-tip, put it in an envelope, then throw it away. We certainly don't need it. 6 weeks later, we'll send you a report that says you're Robert E. Lee's cousin or something.
My report is just one straight line back to white Jesus.
Genetics, because it's like, what are genes anyway, you know?
Now, family, did you know that there was more than one Mount Seir in the Bible, aka Hairy Mountain? In fact, there's the Mount Seir that most people are familiar with, which is located in the territory of Esau, which is also the home of the Horites. However, there's also another Mount Seir in the territory of Judah, just west of the Valley of the Rephaim, also known as the Valley of the Giants. And for this, let's take a look at the encyclopedia in the Bible Hub, which reads, number 1. The Mount and the land of Seir are alternative appellations of the mountainous tract which runs along the eastern side of Arabah, occupied by the descendants of Esau, who succeeded the ancient Horites. Number 2, which is the second Mount Seir. It reads, Seir, a landmark on the boundary of Judah. Now let's take a look at the Smith's Bible Dictionary. It reads, Seir. It means hairy, shaggy. And number 1 reads, we have both the land of Seir, and it says, it is the original name of the mountain range extending along the east side of the Valley of Arabah, from the Dead Sea to the Atlantic Gulf. And then 2, which is the second Mount Seir, it says, Mount Seir, an entirely different place from the foregoing. In other words, it's different from the first one. One of the landmarks on the north boundary of the territory of Judah. And for that, you can read Joshua chapter 15, verse 10. So as stated before, you can indeed find 2 Mount Seirs in the Bible. However, did you know that there was a third Mount Seir? One that was discovered in an unsuspecting place. That's right. That's right. This third Mount Seir, one whose people would shape the very trajectory of mankind all around the world. For this third Mount Seir is located in none other than the Caucasus Mountain.
Travelers traveling, seeking peace from their sorrow and ease from the pain, and they got nowhere to go. A resting place you are seeking, just traveling.
month of July is slated to become the world's hottest month, shattering every other earlier record. The trend of extreme heat is evident all across the world. Greece's capital, Athens, is also bracing for the hottest July weekend in 50 years, with temperatures forecast to soar above 40 degrees Celsius. Relentless wildfires in the country are forcing tens of thousands of people to evacuate from the popular islands of Rhodes and Corfu. Other nations in southern Europe, such as Italy, Spain, and France, are sweltering in a record-breaking heatwave. Heat has even caused several deaths across the globe. A desert valley in eastern California called the Death Valley is one of the hottest places on the planet. Recently, the valley saw the death of a 71-year-old hiker who collapsed shortly after completing a hike and being interviewed about the blazing heat. This year, on the 6th of July, the Earth's average temperature set a new unofficial record high. The planetary average hit 17.23 degrees Celsius. It was the third such milestone in a week that already rated as the hottest on record.
Catastrophes you see now is Yah's vengeance coming up on these enemies, and they know it.
Are they bringing this up because of what's going to happen in 2023? Are they revisiting this again?
Well, they understand that conditions are going to become quite grave. And so even back then, Pastor Paul, I think we, if I'm not mistaken, we called that date out.
You did.
But they're just not getting to it. And but these waves are, you know, that was a tiny one. That was not, they call it significant. No, not really, because there was no great reaction on the earth, and it was far below the readings of the one on August 17th. The next ones that are coming in, you're looking at levels that will totally can make, you know, explosive chemicals inert. Actually change, you know, they can actually change chemistry on the earth, and we're going to have a bad problem with our atmosphere.
3 patients were transported by EMS to local hospitals. Currently, we have 1 person that we were able to confirm is deceased, and several people are unaccounted for.
Telephone poles are going to catch fire, and the wires on them will melt and hit the ground. This is already happening.
And wood houses, you said, will just burn up?
Eventually, yeah, because of the heat. Once the poles start, the rest of the pole shift switches, and we lose our electromagnetic shield entirely. You're getting UVA, UVB, and UVC, plus ultraviolet. It's going to be pouring down on the surface. It's like taking your house and sticking it in a microwave.
So I don't know if Dr. Taylor is aware that the pioneers were not permitted to build houses of wood. They were instructed to use stone or brick or some other substance to build their houses. That was 100 years ago.
Okay, you say it's going to happen in August, so we're saying there is no more time to prepare, or we have 1 week, we have 3 weeks. What do you predict?
Well, 7 people are without a home in Madison County tonight after a house explosion. Here's some footage a viewer sent us of the house when the explosion occurred. It happened on Brevard Boulevard around 1:44 this afternoon.
A large explosion and fire this afternoon in Santa Maria destroyed at least 1 home and left several people badly hurt. News Channel reporter Tony Almanza has the latest from the scene.
A home explosion occurred in Santa Maria around noon on Wednesday. The explosion sent 4 people to the hospital.
I live way out in college, and I was kind of in my garage, and I heard a loud explosion. A buddy of mine called me, and so I came over, and just a bunch of smoke and debris.
One of those injured was a female that was inside the home during the explosion. The other 3 injured people are neighbors. Crews spent hours cleaning up debris.
Our crews did a really good job with the help of Santa Barbara County and San Luis County engines as well. It was community efforts. Despite the destruction, we kept damage to a minimum.
The blast blew out windows in at least 10 nearby homes. Santa Maria City Police and fire units were at the scene. Several homes were evacuated.
I was told that my neighbor's house exploded, and then I just came over here. I was pretty concerned about my dogs because they were in the house with my dad, and so I just came over here.
SoCal Gas was called in to turn off the main gas line in the neighborhood.
Because there's rubble everywhere, all over the street. There's ash everywhere. There's windows busted out through all of the townhomes in here. So I just think it was probably a buildup of gas.
The cause of the explosion is under investigation.
This is a pretty rare occurrence. It really doesn't happen much. Quite a chaotic scene. A number of people are being displaced. We're working with Red Cross right now to establish how many people are going to be displaced and for how long. And we're hoping to help everybody get back into their houses soon.
And investigators have determined that the house explosion that killed the father of Tennessee Titans cornerback Caleb Farley was caused by a natural gas leak.
That explosion leveled the house in Mooresville, North Carolina last week, and several vehicles were also damaged. Robert Farley was found in this debris in the back bedroom of the home. One other male victim was also injured in that blast.
Because investigators say it could take months to figure out what caused this. This is the aftermath of a massive house explosion in Pennsylvania this weekend. 5 people were killed. At least a dozen homes were damaged. One neighbor, a few doors down, told CBS News he ran out after the blast shook his entire house and helped a man he said was covered in severe burns.
It was scary. It was very scary. It was like hell on earth over there.
He said his entire neighborhood has come together to help each other out, bringing water from down the street and providing snacks to the firefighters.
Okay, you say it's going to happen in August, so we're saying there is no more time to prepare.
So conditions that we are living in right now are going to begin to degrade almost at some type of an exponential rate.
So you're saying that, and we had this happen when we started seeing all those explosions, those chemical plants and different kinds of chemicals, and all of a sudden plants were just blowing up everywhere. And I covered these. You said it was going to happen, and it did. Are you saying we're going to be seeing that again, even alarmingly worse?
Yeah, much worse. Last time, there was enough momentum behind some of these charged particles to not only penetrate the magnetosphere, but also to impact the surface of the earth and below. These coming through will utterly obliterate. The magnetosphere is not going to be of any consequence to these inbound particles, and they will absolutely travel at probably twice the speed as those particles that purged their way into us in August 17th that time. So we're looking at some very volatile times. Fires are going to become quite common, so people ought to get ready for fires in every single condition that goes along with fires.
So we're going to be seeing chemical reactions, in other words, chemical plants exploding, because the chemicals that are set in these plants that make different resins and make different pesticides or make different catalysts for gasoline and different petroleums. We're going to be seeing these things just start reacting and exploding everywhere. But you're saying there's also going to be other ramifications from this.
Yeah, the last one was quite slight. Now, think of it this way. If anybody knew about some of the consequences of these larger inbound shock waves that will come into us, these particle shock waves, wouldn't they try to eliminate where gasoline is? You know, because gasoline is a very volatile chemical, right? It's not going to blow up by itself.
Yeah.
Right. But all you have to do is introduce an influx of radiation to gasoline, and it does ignite. Not only does it ignite, it causes a secondary reaction due to that explosive potential. And so there are many different mechanisms that take place in the explosion of gasoline when exposed to highly charged particles at very high speeds. So if they knew this was coming, wouldn't they try to limit gasoline and its availability everywhere to avoid fires all over the place. I know I certainly would. I would come up with something to get people not to have a lot of gasoline where they are.
So
I really would.
You're saying, Mike, that this whole GOP 15 and the GOP 27 and this climate initiative and blaming it on the carbon footprint and all that to save the planet is really not about carbon footprint, but it's really about what's coming, the incoming waves of energy from this binary system that really, they got to figure out ways to limit the production of gasoline and certain chemicals because of the radiation levels are going to be igniting things. And they can't tell us that. That's what you're saying. They can't tell us that.
You would want a mechanism in place where you could truly govern, because also you're going to have a breakdown of government, right? When these things begin to happen. So wouldn't you limit supplies in locations where potential, for example, militias could form that are very powerful? Wouldn't you limit supplies in those areas? Wouldn't you start that right now so that when these things do take place?
And there you can see the enormity of what appears to be a secondary explosion. Whether that was, it could well be the first explosion because it may have been a fire just before it, but I'm just getting reports actually that there was a fire first and then that enormous explosion, which you just show viewers. And this is the explosion from a different angle, and again it just shows how whether that's the first explosion or the second explosion is not clear, but that is what the authorities or state media says is a fireworks warehouse, and you can see actually firecrackers or some sort of subsidiary explosions going on there, but those pictures just in, and there another explosion as well. So
endure to the end. The wicked rule the world, but he coming back to defend those who guard the 10 and the statues meditate. Grace of God be on the mouths of the saints and a two-edged sword in their hand to execute vengeance on the demonic nations and punishment on those people.
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And afterward shall they come out with great substance. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterward shall they come out with great substance.
Joel 3:7. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them.
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and will return your recompense upon your own head.
Yah said, real Israelites will be scattered to the four corners of the earth. Israelites will be scattered to the four corners of the earth. Are there Israelites in India? Yes. Who are the cities? The Sidi, also known as the Shidi, Sidi, and Sidhi, or Hach, are an ethnic group inhabiting India and Pakistan. They are primarily descended from the Bantu peoples of the Zanj coast in Southeast Africa and Ethiopia, most whom arrived to the Indian subcontinent through the Arab slave trade. Others arrived as merchants, sailors, indentured servants, and mercenaries.
Centuries ago, Africans from Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Somalia sailed to the Indian subcontinent as merchants, while others were brought as slaves. The Sidis say they were an elite group of slaves serving the ruling class only. Because of their loyalty and military skills, they were favoured by India's Nawabs, or Muslim rulers, and the Mughals, a Muslim imperial power in the early 16th century. The Sidis rose to positions of power, serving as kings themselves over princely city-states, a little-known fact around the world. Ambassador Saeed Akbaruddin, India's representative to the United Nations, says the cities form an important part of India's history.
Joel 3:7. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head.
They rose to be noblemen, they rose to be commanders, soldiers, admirals.
Over time, most integrated fully with the local population, choosing partners of Indian heritage. To preserve their African identity, some isolated themselves, creating small villages in various parts of Gujarat. Curator and historian at the Schoenberg Center in New York, Sylviane Diouf, who's tracked the city people's journey from the African coast to the Indian subcontinent, explains the roots of the cities currently residing in Gir.
The city today are the descendants of the 1800s people, as well as some Africans who arrived actually later.
Among them were Imran's ancestors, who were brought to India in the 19th century.
और जो जूनागढ़ का जो नवाब था वो लाया हुआ था, किसी को बॉडी करके ले लाया था, कोई ऐसा कोई जिसे पटरी है ट्रेन का पटरी, तो उनको उठाने के लिए कोई इंडियन का कोई काम नहीं है कि उठा सके। तो हमारे लोग जो जैसे मजबूत होते हैं, स्ट्रॉन्ग के लिए वो उठाना जरूरी है, तो वो लोग इसमें भी आए थे, कोई लोग बॉडीगार्ड के लिए आए थे, इसलिए यहाँ पे लाए हुए हैं।
With the passage of time, some escaped slavery, establishing communities in forested areas.
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge.
But today, life for thousands of cities, such as Imran, is far from glamorous. Most live on the fringes of society, in abject poverty.
And afterward shall they come out with great substance.
And when he's not dancing, he works in Gir Forest as a guide.
कॉलेज जाता है तो कोई जॉब मिल जाता है, फॉरेस्ट में मिल जाता है, आर्मी वगैरह में मिल जाते हैं, तो थोड़े बहुत वैसे हो जाते हैं, तो मकान अपने आप कर लेते हैं.
Besides their strength, the cities say that the Nawabs also believed that they held a special relationship with the Asiatic lions and to nature itself.
And now therefore thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, concerning this city, whereof ye say, It shall be delivered into the hand of the king of Babylon by the sword, and by the famine, and by the pestilence. Behold, I will gather them out of all countries, whither I have driven them in mine anger, and in my fury, and in great wrath, and I will bring them again unto this place, and I will cause them to dwell safely. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God, and I will give them one heart and one way, that they may fear me forever, for the good of them and of their children after them. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them, that I will not turn away from them, to do them good, but I will put my fear in their hearts, that they shall not depart from me.
Let the high praise of God be on the mouths of the saints, and a two-edged sword in their hand to execute vengeance on the demonic nations and punishment on those peoples. To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with the Lord. Praise the Lord! Sing to him a new song.
Until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Once that Gentile fulfillment is taking place, Yah is going to set it up where we are going to escape through the second Exodus. There will be a second Exodus.
A lot of times, our people don't like to connect the souls. The same as Esau, who ate his meat raw. In the time before, they climb aboard a dinosaur. Information held behind the doors. We came from the atmosphere. The physical trapped us here. Then they gave us crack and beer. The end of the road, it's like a red moon. Over to back.
And the system said we wouldn't make it past 21. Subjugation in these wicked nations.
But I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unparted. Yah says servants and handmaids. Foreigners are going with us, y'all. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors.
Did black people ever do? Like, I'm genuinely asking, what did we ever do to deserve anti-blackness in every single community?
A horrible story out of Florida tonight. A community reeling right now after a white man shot and killed 3 black people inside a Dollar General store before then killing himself. Officials say the racist attack happened in a predominantly black neighborhood in Jacksonville. This was just before 2 o'clock this afternoon. According to investigators, the gunman had written several manifestos, including one to his own parents, one to the media, and one to federal agents.
Portions of these manifestos detail the shooter's disgusting ideology of hate. Plainly put, this shooting was racially motivated, and he hated black people.
We condemn what happened in the strongest possible terms. We've offered support for Sheriff Waters and the city of Jacksonville, and we send our condolences to the victims and their families.
Well, officials say the gunman was in his 20s. He used a handgun and an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle in the attack. At least one of the firearms had a swastika painted on it. He was also wearing a bulletproof vest.
If anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up in history. It's fine people.
Sing praise in the assembly of the righteous. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud on their beds. Let the high praise of God be on the mouths of the saints, and a two-edged sword in their hand, that to do vengeance on the demonic nation and punishment on the holy. Divide their kings for days, and their nobles can be Lord. Praise the Lord! Sing to him!
Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Once that Gentile fulfillment is taking place, God is going to set it up where we are going to escape through the second Exodus. There will be a second Exodus.
Sriracha, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, verses 10 through 13. The first verse says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rust, so is his wickedness." What did y'all say he was going to do to the children of Israel in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter? When we got out of line, we start living wayward according to our own dictates, went against his Torah, went against his commandments, went against everything, his ordinances, his precepts, and we went against all of them to do what we want to do, to live like the other nations. And y'all say he's going to turn us over to our enemies. But look what this scripture says, never trust your enemies. Look what the next part of that verse said, 11th verse said, "Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and be aware of him. And you shall be unto him as if you had wiped a looking glass, and you shall know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away." What you see is what you get. Don't be deceived by the trickery, the smiles and the profiles, thinking everything is all right because they gave you 2 cents, gave you $15, gave you $40, $50, $1,000, even $1 million. I don't care what they give you. They still your enemy. That's what this scripture is saying. Don't be tricked by the styles and the profiles. The 12th verse, "Set him not by you." He said, don't even set him by you, lest when he has overthrown you, he stand in your place. Neither let him sit at your right hand, lest he seek and take your seat. And you at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. He said, don't even set them next to you. Don't even bring them to your high place. Don't even put them so close to you that you think they on your side. He said they will overthrow you and take your place. There have been many stories in the past where our forefathers and ancestors have been tricked by the enemy. They thought they were on their side. They were sitting next to them. And time they died, they ended up getting with their woman or ended up getting with their man. It was all a plot and a plan to take over their stuff, got all of their money, tricked them, and ended up giving them everything, and their family didn't receive anything. I know people that have lost millions of dollars because they thought the enemy were their friends or they had a great connection with the enemy. So y'all said don't set them next to you, the enemy. Look what else he said, the 13th verse. "Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts?" Y'all said You sit up there and play with the enemy if you want to, like a charmer dealing with a snake. He said, when that man get bit, what people will say? He shouldn't have been messing around with it. He shouldn't have been out there playing with that wild beast. No, stop playing with your enemies thinking that everything is good. Know how to flow. Know how to function. Know how to operate in the midst of your enemies, and don't allow your guard to be taken down. Do what you have to do. Live like you're supposed to live, according to Yah's Torah, his commandments, his set-apart scriptures, but don't be tricked by your enemies. Look what Yah said again. The title is, there will be swift vengeance, judgment, destruction upon our enemies. I'm going to show you these scriptures. But look at this right here. You've been seeing a lot of hurricanes, tornadoes, hurricanes, and strange places over there in the Pacific Ocean, over there by California. I never heard no hurricanes over by California, tornadoes. I never heard of that. I'm telling you, I've been alive for some years now, and I've never heard of tornadoes and hurricanes hitting that area. I know the East Coast, the Atlantic Ocean produces a lot of hurricanes. You see a lot of tornadoes down in the southern regions and in the Midwest area, but I never heard over in the West Coast that type of thing taking place. You see typhoons taking place. You see tidal waves taking place, tsunamis taking place. You see flooding taking place. I'm going to show you something. This scripture right here is going to show you what's happening, and we got to stop saying everything is, oh, that's just nature that's taking place and this taking place because of global warming. No, it's the hand of Yah, and I'm going to show you the set-apart scripture that tells you that. Ecclesiasticus chapter 39, verse 28 and 30. Listen what this set-apart scripture says. That's why we need the apocryphal books, because they give you more detail at the workings of Yah and how Yah is going to move for his people and what's taking place in the land. 28 verse. There be spirits that are created for vengeance. Did you hear what I just said? There be spirits that are created for vengeance. Yah did this. Listen at this. Which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. They're going to appease the wrath of Yah that made them. Are you hearing that? You got birds falling out of the sky. You got worms falling out of the sky. You got all type of things taking place. Hell balls getting bigger and bigger. You seeing all type of catastrophes. The ocean is getting warmer and warmer. The sea creatures are coming all up to the water like they crying out for help. Animals being washed up on the beach. Stuff that you never seen coming out the ocean. You saying, what is that? So so many things taking place. And you got to understand, Yah said, I created these spirits for vengeance. Look what else he said. He said, fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Did you hear what he just said? I didn't make this up. All of that, oh, it's just a natural disaster. No, it's Yah's disaster. Yah is coming with force. He's letting the enemy know, I'm coming after you. In the end of days, when everything is going to take place, we're in the end of days now, but you got different sections of the end of days. The latter part, there are going to be hail balls that fall that weigh 100 pounds of hail balls falling to the ground, falling to the earth, destroying man. So Yah is utilizing fire and hail and famine and death. All these were created for vengeance. Not that man-made stuff they trying to utilize, that when they come up with that stuff like them different weapons, how they shoot lasers at the sky, how they create their own tsunamis. No, it's Yah made. He's permitting this stuff to take place to wake up JASHER, to wake up the world, to let them know he's coming back to destroy people for this messing with his people. That's the main gist of the different catastrophes you see now, is Yah's vengeance coming up on these enemies, and they know it. The next one says, the teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. Yah said you're going to see wild beasts tearing up folks, scorpions, serpents, and the sword punishing the wicked to destruction. People going to be dying crazy deaths out there dealing with animals and different creatures, and people ain't going to know what done happened to them. The next thing you know, they found out they've been destroyed by wild beasts. Some type of serpent got them, some type of sword got a hold to them. Yah said he's doing it for the wicked to their destruction. So there are creatures, spirits made for vengeance that Yah is trying to loose in the land. The enemy will not get away with how he's treated us. That's a promise from us to Yah.
Do you know about the three eclipses that will combine to create a giant aleph or an A alpha over America. And you can see the apex of the A alpha is about on the Cascade areas of the West Coast. Michael Snyder says, I'm about to share something with you that is truly remarkable. The paths of three eclipses will combine to form a giant aleph over America. And hardly anyone knows about this. Of course, the aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, or alpha of the Greek alphabet. The second letter in the Hebrew alphabet is beta. Most people don't realize this, but our word alphabet originally came from the combination of alpha and beta, and this is the fact that a giant aleph will soon be completed over the United States. Will it be significant? I believe that it is, and I'll explain why in this article. There shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars in the last days. So we should be watching for such things. In order for an eclipse to happen, both the sun and the moon must be involved. Previously, I've explained how the Great American Eclipse of 2017 would later combine with the Great American Eclipse of 2024 to create a giant X across America. The following is an excerpt from my book entitled 7-Year Apocalypse. Well, what would you say if I told you that an enormous X that is in the process of being marked across the United States will be completed in the year 2024? I know that it may sound very strange, but stick with me and you will soon understand what I'm talking about. On August 21st, 2017, the Great American Eclipse made headlines all over the world. It was the very first solar eclipse since 1918 that was able to be seen all the way from the West Coast to the East Coast. In the United States, the path of the eclipse started in Oregon. It continued all the way across the United States, and it extended to the country in South Carolina. But what makes that eclipse unlikely to any other is the fact that it will combine with another historic eclipse in 2024 in the form of a giant X across America. On April 8, 2024, another Great American Eclipse will make headlines all over the planet. The path of that eclipse will cross over the states of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. If you plot the paths of the 2017 eclipse and the 2024 eclipse on the same map, you'll clearly see that they combine to form a massive X right over the heartland of the continental United States. And the map shows that what the giant X will look like. The precise intersection formed by the Great American Eclipse of 2017 and the Great American Eclipse of 2024 covers portions of the states of Kentucky, Illinois, and Missouri. And if you closely examine this area on the map, you'll see that it falls right in the middle of the New Madrid fault zone. In several of my books, I've discussed the fact that someday there will be an absolutely catastrophic earthquake along the New Madrid seismic zone, the fault zone, and it will be so massive that it will permanently alter the geography of the United States, and you won't want to be anywhere around when that quake finally arrives. But now we're discovering that there is even more to the story. On October 14, 2023, an annual solar eclipse will cross the United States from Oregon to Texas. If you overlay the path of that annual solar eclipse on top of the paths of the Great American Eclipse of 2017 and the Great American Eclipse of 2024, you'll see that those three eclipses actually combine to create a giant aleph across America. A tweet that was posted by Randy Sevi about the phenomenon has created quite a stir. He says, I just saw this and got the shivers. And look at that. Those are the 2017, 2023, And 2024 solar eclipse in the United States, that's God's signature. It's an Aleph. The Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. The Aleph in Hebrew has a numerology value of 1. The Aleph is also a representative of God and the oneness of God, the one true God. The Aleph is also made of 3 lines. Three is biblically representing divine wholeness and completeness and perfection. This Aleph is from the Paleo-Hebrew script, also Paleo-Hebrew, Proto-Hebrew, or Old Hebrew, the written system found in ancient inscriptions of biblical Israel and Judah. In fact, it was basically like the ancient Greek alphabet. Now, when you look at the map that Randy Sevi shared on Twitter, there's also no doubt that it looks like an Aleph. So what does all of this mean? I'm not entirely sure, but let me share something else with you. If you do a Google search for when the new moon in Jerusalem will be in October 2023, you will discover that it will be on October 14. And that is a day when the annular solar eclipse will cross our country from Oregon to Texas. And if you do a Google search for when the new moon in Jerusalem will be in April 2024, you will discover that it will be on April 8th. And that is the day when the great American eclipse crosses America and completes the Aleph. By the way, April 8th also happens to be the first day of the first month of the Hebrew calendar. In other words, a brand new biblical year begins on that date. I find it hard to believe that this is just coincidence. I think that God is trying to tell us something. Of course, He has been trying to warn us in hundreds of different ways, but most people don't want to listen. The signs of the end times are really being fulfilled all around us, but most of us refuse to see the truth.
Video footage from Scotland that shows what look like multiple suns in the daytime sky just for a brief moment. Very rare video footage coming out of Scotland. But first, over here at spaceweather.com, we have 2 comets entering the solar system right now as I do this video. Comet Nishimura, which may be visible next month around the middle of September. This is one of them that very well could be visible during this eclipse on April 8th. And looking at the path of totality over here at timeanddate.com, this is the eclipse of April 8th of 2024. I've zoomed in on Dallas, and you can see the dark line in the center is the path of totality. Austin, Waco, Dallas, Tyler, San Antonio, and other areas in that dark orange line in the center of that map. And here's a larger map of the path of totality, in fact, the path of the eclipse right here. If you're anywhere in this shaded area, you'll be able to see at least part of the eclipse. If you're on this dark orange line right here, you should be, if conditions are favorable, no clouds, you'll be able to see the entire eclipse. And they're calling this the Great North American Eclipse because it goes through Mexico, the United States, and parts of eastern Canada. So if you see your location in the dark orange on this map, you could see a total eclipse, and you might also see a comet during the eclipse. How about that? That is something that definitely doesn't happen very often. And once again, over here at timeanddate.com, this is what the eclipse is supposed to look like during totality on April 8th of 2024. And there's an outside chance that you might be able to see this comet right here, Comet 12P, during the total eclipse. I mean, this one here could definitely be one for the record books. And here's a map of the path of the eclipse going through Colorado, New Mexico, once again through Texas. If I'm not mistaken, I think San Antonio is going to be in the middle of both of these total eclipses. This one here, again, being in October of this year, October 14th. Here's the path of the total eclipse, and you can see it dips down through North America, Western North America, down through Central America, and down through South America. And zooming in a little bit closer to see some of the cities in the path of totality, there once again, San Antonio. San Antonio is going to be in the path of both of these total eclipses. Albuquerque, just to name a few of the larger cities. Odessa, going up in through Utah, northeastern Nevada, southwestern Oregon. And then, of course, all of the lighter orange, you'll be able to see the eclipse. It'll be a partial eclipse, once again, if skies are permitting, if it's not cloudy. So once again, two major celestial events coming up, one 230 days away from today. That's the total eclipse of April 8th. And then one 53 days away from today, the total eclipse of October 14th of 2023. I want to take you guys now over to Scotland. This is rare video footage that was submitted on August 20th of 2023 by Mike from Scotland as he was looking up into the sky, and he was filming the sun behind a thin layer of clouds, thin and thick at times, but the clouds were acting like a decent solar filter. You could see the entire sun without the aid of sunglasses or any type of filter. It kind of reminded me of an H alpha filter, just a different color. But the clouds were, again, acting as a solar filter. When this happens, just out of nowhere, he's filming from the same location, doesn't move, doesn't zoom in, doesn't do anything different, when all of a sudden two more circles appear in the video that appear to be suns, along with the primary one that he had been filming the entire time. And then watch over here on the right hand side, you're going to see the sun pop back out right there. There it is, without its two companions. So how did that do that? Totally bizarre. Again, he didn't zoom in or out. His position remained the same during the entire length of the video. And right here are a few still images when the three were visible in his video. And again, this is probably some sort of a trick of light, I would assume. I don't know how this happened because, again, he didn't change a thing. He was just standing there filming without zooming in or doing anything different, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, two more what appeared to be perfectly round circles, the same size as the sun, appeared down here at around the 5 o'clock position of the sun, appearing to be behind the clouds. And then here's a close-up view of the video that he took when the other two right there appeared, almost ghostly looking views of what appeared to be two more suns below the primary sun that he was filming above Scotland back on August 20th of 2023, just a few hours ago actually, less than 48 hours ago. He took this video footage from Scotland. Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate that.
I'll continue to do my best to sound the alarm, but I want to thank you for helping me do that. And this is by Michael Snyder. He says, about the author, my name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled End Times.
I was home. First thing I remember was how bright everything got. Reflection off the water. He took his crown jewel and cleaved it clean to the bone. That meteor was his reset button.
They shall take them captive as they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors.
Like I genuinely ask, what did we ever do to deserve anti-blackness in every single
You are not African American. You are
We fought for our freedom just to end up with Jim Crow and segregation and being lynched.
So I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel.
We were segregated for our own
communities. It's going to be the first way, and then
denied jobs, denied funding for our schools.
The so-called white man.
You dehumanize and demonize and kill our black women and nobody bats an eye. What exactly did black people do? What exactly did we do?
I don't have to explain what's understood, man.
To 6 minutes in some cases.
So the world won't freeze to death in 5 or 6 minutes.
No, we're going to burn. It's going to get hot because we'll have nothing blocking infrared. Because the introduction of a brand new gravitational force will diminish the gravitational force of the sun. That's something else a lot of people don't really think of. Now, keep in mind the second sun, nobody may ever see the second sun. They may never see it, but that's not going to stop the effects we're about to have from it. right? Because we will have that photonic exchange, meaning our sun is going to go black. During its closest proximity to our sun, all the photons are going to be redirected. People will see it. It'll look like a bridge in the sky.
The sun will be darkened. The sun will be darkened.
We won't see it. That's right. It'll be black. No light's going to hit us. The photons are going to be redirected towards the alternate star. They have observed this hundreds of times, happening in real time out in space. In fact, the rule is most planets have a second sun. It's very rare for a system to just have one star.
So the binary system that's coming is really the second sun, and it's getting into a point where at some point it's bigger than our sun, I take it. It's much bigger.
Well, it's of a different nature.
People will have a heart attack seeing this.
Of course they will.
They'll think the world, it's over, and they'll just fall over dead in fear, right?
Right, because they won't understand. Well, no one's explaining that to them.